Hopefully the comments will pop up. And hi everyone, George here. I just want to do a sound check, so if you can just comment in the live chat right now to say audio, video good, hopefully, and then we'll get started for real. Any comments yet? Nothing. Anything? I'm just paranoid we've got no audio. Can you imagine doing the whole thing with no audio? Just stay there a minute. Time. Can see you. Can you hear us, guys? Let us know if you can hear us. Audio great, brilliant. Good. Should we shut this door? It's a bit noisy, isn't it? Okay. Hi everyone, George here, and welcome to this live stream. We're going to aquascape this Aquascape 600 here at Aquarium Gardens. I want to give a special thank you to Dave Pierce, owner, for inviting me this evening, and also to Tropica Aquarium Plants for sponsoring all of the plants and the soil for this aquascape. And I wanted to kind of go into a bit of a story time this evening. The scape itself isn't going to last that long. I thought I'd take this opportunity to just have a bit of a ramble. Don't do that very much these days, so yeah, why not do it right now? So Dave and I go way back. I think Dave opened the store 2016, Aquarium Gardens, here in Huntingdon in England, and I'm very lucky that it's only 2 or 3 miles away from my home, so that's a really quite an insane coincidence really, when I'm a self-employed aquascaper and Dave arguably has the best aquascaping store here in the UK, and for it to be so local is a real blessing, I have to say. And we were just chatting earlier, and I think this is the 5th time that I've scaped this actual tank. We've done black water in it, we've done Dutch style, we've done classic nature aquarium, we've tried Brazilian style. Am I missing anything? No, that's about it, isn't it? Black water, yeah. So yeah, it's a great tank, and I have a bit of history with these tanks. So for those that don't know, the Aquascaper brand, I was actually known as the Aquascaper. I was branding myself as the Aquascaper. And then in 2016 again, I started a collaboration with Evolution Aqua. They bought my name off me, the Aquascaper brand. I collaborated with them, I had a 2-year contract, and part of that kind of collaboration was to develop Evolution Aqua's own kind of freshwater aquascaping brand, and that's what I did. And now most of the aquarium, well, a lot of the aquariums in here are EA Aquascaper tanks. They have their own glass lily pipes and inlets. They have their own liquid fertilizer, lighting hanging kits. And it was a real great kind of privilege to be involved with that process, of developing a brand and getting a rimless kind of tank well known in the UK. And yeah, it was a great experience, and it's really nice to be able to scape one of these again. I've recently got rid of my Aquascaper 1200, as most of you may know, and I can get my kind of rimless open top tank fixed now every time I come to Aquarium Gardens, because I only actually have one rimless tank now, and that's the Tropica Aqua Cube, yeah, which is this big. And yeah, so that's a little bit of history. I think Dave reached out to me quite a while back. It was about the UCAP's aquatic experience, aquascaping experience, wasn't it? You sponsored, you did like a giveaway, or you sponsored the event, and that was then that you realised, I think you saw me running.
I saw you running one day.
Well, you saw me because I'm a runner.
Double taped.
And he was like, is that George Farmer? And then, yeah, and then next thing, I'm here. And then I did some work for you. I was kind of doing your tank maintenance for a while. And yeah, it was really good. So it's really great to be here again. It's really great to be able to chat with you guys and go through this aquascaping process with you. It's not going to be a particularly groundbreaking aquascape. It's going to use a lot of plants that you may know and love, hopefully as much as I do. We do have a couple of different species which we'll talk about later, which we don't often use. But it's going to be hopefully a great classic nature aquarium. It's going to complement all of the other beautiful displays in here. Do a quick pan round, Dave, if you want, and just show the guys what you've got going on right now. So Aquascape 1200, Aquascape 1500, and then we've got the Aquascape 900, and then there's like an ADA 60p size aquarium, and then a 45, and then a shallow 60, and then a shallow 45, Dave? 45F, yeah. 45F, and then you've got the kind of, is that a 60H or 45H there? So a real great mix of aquascapes here and aquarium sizes, and hopefully the aim of today is not only to give you hopefully a really good workshop, but also for Dave to have a long-term beautiful display in the store that is a little bit different to the other scapes in here, but is going to be, you know, equally as impactful and a long-term display that we can all enjoy, hopefully. So we'll talk about some of the equipment first before we get into the scaping. We've already talked about the tank and the cabinet. The Aquascape 600 itself is 60 centimetres or 2 feet long by 50 centimetres front to back, or 20 inches front to back by 36 centimetres tall, which is about 14 inches. It's got the matte white cabinet. I think it's called the cream cabinet. I think we're using an Awase Biomaster 600 in here, thermo. Big fan of these filters. Some of you may have seen the unboxing of the new bigger version, the 850 thermo, which is an epic filter. And I think Dave uses pretty much Awase in most of the, almost every tank in here. So proven performers, and I think Dave's been using them as much as I have the last 3 years or so. So great filters. We're going to be running, I guess, inline CO2 or inline CO2 art diffuser, inline diffuser. The filter comes with a built-in heater and pre-filter. Lighting is this TwinStar 600S. Again, that's a proven performer. Lots of TwinStar units running in here. Grow the plants well. Really nice colour rendition, especially bringing out the reds of fish in the plants. Yeah, and it's just a really great system. I've probably set up 10, 20 of these now for clients and for myself and for Dave and other stores. And it's just a really nice size aquarium because it's not too big in terms of taking up lots of room in your living space, but it's big enough to create an impactful aquascape. And one of the reasons behind that is the front to rear depth, because it is 50 centimetres by 60. So if Dave kind of comes over the top, Dave's actually behind the camera right now, so thanks to Dave for doing the filming. It is a really nice footprint, and with aquascaping, what we really want to do is hopefully get this sense of depth when you're looking at the scape from front to back. And obviously when you have actually physically good distance front to back, you can really accentuate that depth. We can also use tricks, you know, different textures of plants. A really common technique is to use broad textures at the front and then finer textures at the back, and this gives what we call a forced perspective. But there's no real need to do that because it is such a kind of great depth of tank. It's low iron glass, it's clear silicone, although it is a bit kind of covered in algae right now. There is a top tip actually that I kind of thought about recently. If your silicone, your clear silicone, is absolutely kind of stained with this dark green algae, which it does after some time, what you can do is get some toilet roll or kitchen roll and then roll it into like a sausage shape and then soak it, wear some rubber gloves, and then soak that kitchen roll in thin bleach and then actually wedge it all the way into the corners. It sticks, and if you press it as far as you can into that silicone, leave it for 24 hours, when you pull that away, that is going to be absolutely clear as a whistle. Clear as a whistle? Clear as something that's really clear. So that's a top tip for you, and obviously too late to do that now, but maybe on the next scape number 6 in a year's time or whatever it will be, Dave, we can do that. So that's one of the downsides behind clear silicone. People are put off because it does stain after a while, but that is a top tip that you can do. I actually learnt that when I was cleaning mould from my silicone in my shower. So there you go, a bit of a personal story for you there. So it's a beautiful tank, rimless of course, as you can see, which means we can have wood coming out the top if we want to, we can have emergent plant growth if we want to. You can see into the aquascape, so it gives you another dimension. So lots of positives to having a rimless tank. A few disadvantages: you do get a lot of evaporation, And a sign of that is here. You can maybe see some hard water marks there. As the hard, because Dave runs mains tap water in here, and we do have hard water in this area. So what happens is, as that water evaporates, it just leaves behind that mineral deposit there, which is actually really stubborn and hard to remove. So that's a disadvantage. Other disadvantages are you can get escaping livestock. You know, Mano shrimp tend to like to climb out of these, and you should be stocking your fish quite carefully so they don't jump. And my advice is always to plant really heavily if you can. That kind of makes the fish feel more secure and safe, so they don't want to jump so much, hopefully. So that's the tank and the equipment in a nutshell. I think we've covered everything there. Yeah, beautiful system, available in the UK. Availability elsewhere is limited, unfortunately, but proven performers and a really great system. And the 600 is the smallest they do, and they do all the way up to an Aquascape at 1800, which is basically a 6 foot by 2 foot by 2 foot and everything in between. So that's enough about the aquarium itself. Let's talk about the scape. So first thing I usually do when I scape is add the substrates, and we're going to go for 100% soil substrate. And the reason for that is sometimes I like to use cosmetic sands, as you can see here in this beautiful Aquascape at 1200, and also in this Aquascape at 900 you can see this really beautiful cosmetic sand, and then we've got soil which the plants are in. Because we've got a sand and sand, I thought let's go full on soil and then do a full on carpet, really dense planting, and have this kind of really lush green aquascape. We've got quite colourful scapes here. You know, we've got the Hydrocotyle Verticalata in here, which is obviously a little bit red because it's quite good lighting. And then we've got some reds of the Bucophilandra and the Nymphia lotus lily there as well. So I thought it'd be really nice a contrast to have full carpet and then full green plants. The only slightly non-green plant we're probably going to be using is the Rotundifolia, and it's a bit of a gamble with this plant. Depending on how much lighting you have, and the nutrient levels and the nutrient ratios can depend on how much red can be produced by that Rotala Rotundefolia. So we'll see how that goes, but we're not using any high impact red plants in here because we have already the red there. I just think it'd be a nice kind of sandwich to have pure kind of greenery in here. So we're going for 100% soil substrates, as I discussed. Tropica soil, proven performer. I've probably used this in over 50 aquascapes now for either myself or clients. It is my favourite soil. It isn't quite as rich in nutrients as something like the AD8 Aquasoil Amazonia, but it doesn't have as much of an ammonia spike, if indeed any ammonia spike at all. Just a disclaimer there, always test your water when you first introduce fish to a new scape using any soil, because there's always that little bit of a risk of ammonia. But proven performer, and I love using it. I use it in all my tanks, and most of you may know that Tropica support me anyway, so that's one of the reasons why, because they have great products like this. So let's put the soil in. Great news, you don't actually have to rinse the soil, you don't have to prepare it, you don't have to put any base layer in. It's just designed to be used on its own. So let's just pour that in straight away. And this is the normal type. So Tropica do the two types. They do the normal aquarium soil, and then they do the soil powder. It's exactly the same product. The powder is just a smaller grain size. And actually I really like the powder, especially when you're planting delicately root structured plants. But you can just mix it up if you want, like I'm doing today. It's going to be 100% planted, so it doesn't really matter how it looks. We'll probably need that other bag in there, won't we? And that's the thing, it is quite a large footprint aquarium, so you will need a bit more soil than a regular 60 centimetre aquarium. So you're probably looking at, I mean, these are two kind of fraction bags, and we've got a full bag there. So we're probably looking at around 18, 20 litres altogether, I guess. So let's put this other one in. So the soil itself, It contains lots of nutrients to feed the plant roots, and it has other benefits to the whole aquarium system. It reduces the pH slightly. It hopefully buffers the pH as well, at around about 6, 6.5, depending on your water chemistry. And that means that it provides a better home, basically, for the plant roots and the fish. And this all adds up to a healthy aquarium system, promoting the best plant growth. And, you know, if you can afford it, I always recommend going for a soil substrate. You know, doesn't really matter which brand you go for, they're all good performers, generally speaking. I like to use Tropica, of course, because I do work with them very closely. And like I said, it is an absolutely proven performer, a real kind of stable soil. There are reports of other brands where you get different batches, and depending on where they've kind of sourced that soil from, it can, you know, vary in terms of its quality and its nutrient content, etc. But I can guarantee you that the amount of work that goes into sourcing the soil for Tropica, you know, it ensures that we get a very stable and good quality product, you know, consistently. So there we have our substrate in. I think that's plenty. We don't need to make it super flat just yet, because when the action of the hardscape, it's probably going to kind of move it all around, and then we can kind of make it look neater after that. So that's the soil. So just a quick rundown. Doesn't need pre-rinsing, feeds the plant roots, buffers the pH, lowers the pH and the softness slightly. It also has what we call a high cation exchange capacity. Now that means it locks in nutrients from the water, and yeah, takes nutrients out of the water, locks them into the soil itself, and then makes those nutrients available to the plant roots. So what I like to do is, you know, you can guarantee your plants are going to be well fed through the roots from the soil, but also I like to use a liquid fertilizer frequently, ideally every day. My preferred fertilizers are Tropica Specialized or Tropica Premium Nutrition, and depending on your type of tank and how heavily stocked it is, if you're using CO2, etc., depends on which one you go for. The Specialized is basically for high energy setups, and the Premium is more for low energy setups with more fish load. So the advantage of doing the daily dosing in conjunction with the soil is that you're going to guarantee those plants are going to be really well fed. So they're getting their food from their roots, but they're also getting their food from their leaves. What this means is the plant never goes hungry, and it grows really robust, and this means less algae issues. So the number one kind of defense against algae is healthy plant growth. So we really need to give the plant what it needs. Good lighting, which we've got here with the Twin Star. Good food, which we've got with the soil substrate and liquid fertilizers. And then we need a good level of circulation, which we get from the Awase Biomaster 600. And then good levels of CO2, which we get from the CO2 Art regulator and inline diffuser. All these things mean that the plants are really going to thrive, and that gives the plants the best defense against algae. So always talk about algae, because it is the number one reason people kind of give up the hobby. And if people can learn how to grow plants really healthily, then they can learn how to kind of manage algae, and that is a great thing for the hobby. You know, the worst thing that can happen for us is people give up the hobby, because then you've lost them forever. You know, someone could spend, you know, £1,000, you know, a lot of money on a system, and then they get all the right kit, and then what kind of common problem is they want to save some money on the plants, and they don't actually plant heavily enough with healthy plants. What that does, it gives algae the upper hand, and then that person gets a really bad experience. You know, they've spent a lot of money and time and energy into creating something. If they haven't just spent that extra little bit on decent plants, enough of them, and healthy plants, then they're very likely going to get algae issues, and then they're going to get, you know, disgruntled, bad experience, and then potentially leave the hobby forever, which is a nightmare. So that's why I talk about algae so much. Good. Hardscaping. Yes, my favourite. So I came in the other day. I want to give a shout out to Dory, my mate Mark Dorr, if he's watching. He might have even dropped me a $1.99 super chat like he normally does. He says it's my pocket money. I had a really great time with Mark, actually. Spent a few hours in my home, and We had a really good chat, and then we came into Aquarium Gardens as well. Was it Wednesday? When did we come in? Was it Wednesday? Monday. No, it was. What is it now? Tuesday. Was it yesterday we came in? Was it? Oh, time flies, doesn't it? So we came in yesterday and we pre-selected some hardscape, which I'm really happy with. It's probably going to float, so we need to take some measures about that, but we'll talk about that as we do it. So hardscape is the backbone of the layout. It's the kind of infrastructure. It's the skeleton. If we start off with a really strong hardscape, then we can very easily create a high impact aquascape. Conversely, if we had a very weak and not very impactful hardscape, it's going to be really challenging to create a high impact aquascape. You're going to really have to rely on the plants. The plants will have to grow in, and it's going to take you a lot of time, a lot of effort to create a high impact aquascape versus starting off with a high impact aquascape with a good hardscape selection. So it's a really good idea. Whenever you go to an aquarium shop or an aquarium store, check out their hardscape selection. You might just see one rock or one nice piece of wood. Oh, we need to take a picture before I forget. Sorry. I was in full flow then. That's perfect. So whenever you go to an aquarium store, check out their hardscape selection. Even if it's just one rock, one piece of wood, then walk away with it. And hopefully you've got an area in your home or your garden or your apartment, whatever, you can have a little stash of your hardscape. And if you're into the aquascaping hobby, then hardscape is just one of those materials that will last forever, hopefully, and you can gradually build up your collection. And this is just going to give you more options when you're creating new aquascapes. So it's always great to have more options. The more options you have, the more room for creativity you have, and the stronger aquascapes you can create. And the beautiful thing about doing a tank like this, with it being empty, with just a substrate in there, you can just play around for as long as you like with the hardscape. We're not going to do that now. I'm going to get this done in probably 5 or 10 minutes, the hardscape. But when you're at home in your own time and you dedicate some time, schedule in a day or half a day or an hour a day for a few days, and just really get into that zone of positioning your hardscape, choosing the best pieces you can, of course. Hopefully you've got access to decent hardscape. If you haven't, consider going online. There's some online shops now which actually take photos of the individual pieces of hardscape with like a tape measure for scale, and hopefully you can even give the store owner a call or even maybe a video call, and they can show you physically what's in the store. We live in this brilliant digital age where this is possible now. So there's not really any excuse that you can't get hold of decent hardscape, even if you have to go collecting it yourself. There's always some disclaimers there when collecting yourself. Obviously obey local laws and make sure it's safe, aquarium safe, but don't be afraid to experiment. Okay, so hardscape. We're doing a classic kind of nature aquarium style today, so we're going to be using beautiful wood, beautiful stones, and let's get started. So what I like to do is always start off with the biggest piece, and that is this beautiful piece of wood here. Do you want to get a close-up of that, Dave? Let's get it under the light here. So absolutely stunning piece of wood here. What type is this? Riverwood. This is riverwood. This retails for about £25. 25 quid. That's a bargain. So it's about 30, 35 US dollars if you're watching in the United States. That's a bargain. Didn't need that bit anyway. So this is a beautiful piece. Dave, Aquarium Gardens have an amazing selection of wood and rocks, I have to say. You are kind of spoilt for choice. They do have a couple of aquascaping dojos as well, so you can actually try before you buy. And if you're a complete beginner, Dave or another member of staff will happily help you come up with a hardscape composition, and you can walk away with a guaranteed nice hardscape selection. So can't emphasize enough how important hardscape is in aquascaping. So I'm just going to pop this in. This is obviously the main bit of wood here. That's a good start. Now with really good hardscape materials, it's almost impossible to go wrong. There's got so many features to it, but there's a few kind of rough guidelines that you can undertake to ensure you get a nice composition. So One of the things I like to do is use the rule of thirds, and this basically means you're splitting the tank into 3 equal sections, and the main focal point, which is going to be around here, is in line with about 1/3 of the way along. You can also do it vertically. This is horizontally, of course. You can also do it vertically as well. It's just a very rough guide, but it's better than deliberately putting it directly central. You know, that's just going to look a bit odd, a bit too symmetrical. Your eye's going to be darting from left to right. It's not going to be settling down. So we normally just position the focal point off by about 1/3 or so. You can use the golden ratio as well, which is actually very similar to the rule of thirds. So we've got a couple of options here. We can do this, we can do this, but I'm quite keen to get a fair bit of height in there. This here is a little bit, this is like sawn off straight, so we might want to kind of avoid seeing that. What you can do is use bonsai cutters and just chip away at this end here, and you'll create a much more kind of natural look there. But we can do that later on. There's no need to do that right now. Okay, so I really like these pieces here. These are great because they look interesting. There's loads of texture and character there, but it's also perfect for adding your epiphyte plants, which I love, and we'll be using lots of those later. So let's pop that in there. Happy with that to start with. We've got our second. It's kind of longer, but it's not as much mass to this wood. So another top tip is when you're using 2 pieces of wood, make sure they're the same type. We very rarely use different types of wood in the same aquascape. What we're trying to do is create a naturalistic impression. And in nature, you'll very rarely see, 2 pieces of wood of the same type together. And the overall impression is trying to create the illusion that it's just one beautiful, nice piece of wood, which I think we've achieved there. Now, my only kind of concern here is this vertical element here is quite central. So I'm just going to have a little play around with that. But before I do that, I'm just going to take a quick picture. Yeah, it's looking good. It actually looks really good in the photo. Now, don't get too obsessed by making the hardscape look absolutely perfect. And the reason for that is when you plant, the plant's going to actually shift that entire composition depending on what you plant and where you plant it. So by all means, spend some great care and attention on your hardscape in terms of focal points and making it look natural. But try not to get too obsessed, because once you've added some epiphyte plants and some of the crypts or the stems or whatever grows kind of around that hardscape, it's really going to shift the overall composition of the hardscape and make it look maybe completely different. So a great example actually, Dave, is this Aquascape of 1500. I think there was quite a bit of feedback about this piece of wood here when it was first planted because it was so dominant and a little bit kind of odd looking. But as you can see now, with all these beautiful epiphyte plants attached, it's really kind of softened that whole look. And you can see here as well, these epiphyte plants, how old is this now?
A year.
So this is 12 months old. And you can see just how beautiful it is. This was scaped by Philippe Oliveira from Aquaflora. Done a great job. A little bit annoyed because it was better than the aquascape I did before it. But there we go. Just want to kind of... Okay, so I'm quite happy with that. I'm just a little bit mindful of this vertical element here. I wonder if we can switch that there. So that's kind of sloping up this way a bit more. That's a bit better, isn't it? It's a bit more balanced. And then we do have a third piece of wood here, because I was quite, there's quite a lot of open space there. We do have some stones. Let's put that in at the end if we need to. Now we'll do the gluing at the end, won't we? Okay, so I'm going to sit down for this one. Can you see me? Are you a bit close? I don't know. Let's get the light on here. Yeah. So, by the way, guys, if you're watching, if you're new to the channel, welcome, and I hope you're enjoying it. If you're not new and you're experienced, then engage with everyone. I want to use this not only as to talk about aquascaping, but I want to use it as a community kind of tool, engagement tool. So chat amongst yourselves if you get bored of listening to me, and yeah, let's just let's celebrate this beautiful aquascaping community that we have. Okay. So we have Frodo Stone. Well, probably my favourite stone that's available in the hobby. This is actually from my very good friend Adam Pashkela. I do need to go over and see him again. And he literally has tons of this, literally tons in his garden, and it's beautiful. It's quite expensive, it's very dense, it's a very heavy stone, but it is stunning, and you can just see these beautiful features here. I'm not sure where it's locally collected. I think it's a trade secret, of course, but it is absolutely, magnificent. Look at that character. It just gives this, naturalistic. The textures just look, it's just really interesting, isn't it? If you imagine like a boulder or big pebble, it's just smooth. It's not really got much character to it. There's very little texture there. But this invokes this, I don't know, kind of mountainy, hillsidey kind of feel. So I love Frodo Stone. So this is the largest piece. Now it's important that we position this appropriately. This layout is completely different to what I originally planned, so I'm having to kind of change my original concept, but that's no problem. It's my job, so I should be fairly okay at doing that. So when I'm looking at the stone, we've got this distinct strata. The strata are these natural lines that run through the stone. These have been created through thousands, tens of thousands of years of, geological kind of processes. And we can use that strata to our advantage. We can deliberately kind of line it up. And what I like to do is my top tip is to actually have it lining up with the main kind of weight, the main kind of focal area of the wood, which is around here. And so we have this natural strata here, and we can rotate the stone in all angles, X, Y, Z axis. And then we just, offer it up, and you can visualize how that's going to look in the aquarium. So we've got this natural strata here, and I'm hoping that's going to kind of run up in line with this piece of wood here. And I'm just mindful that I'm not going to hopefully touch the glass. And I do want a little bit of planting area around there as well. And then don't be afraid to fiddle around with things and push, when you're doing it at home, you'll have obviously a lot more time than I have right now. And do take your time doing this. Put something in, take a step back, have a little think. Can I make that look any better? If so, let's do it. Maybe take a picture. Taking pictures is really useful because when you take a photo, you're seeing it in 2 dimensions. Obviously, when we're looking at it with our eyes like now, you're going to see it in 3 dimensions, which looks different. So it's useful to use photos as well. Speaking of photos, and then let's just give these a spray. Yeah, it's quite warm today. In the UK, we're at 30 degrees Celsius, which is about 90 Fahrenheit. And we've got the studio light on as well, so it is quite warm in here. But I think I'm quite happy with that at the moment. Got a little bit of room around there to plant. But you can just see that's such a beautiful stone, that is. It's probably the best stone in the whole shop, I'd say. I can't believe I didn't buy it myself. Okay, I'm just mindful that we don't really want the hardscape touching the glass because it's just going to be a real issue with cleaning. It will just get algae building up around there and it will be really challenging to remove that. So we at least want a little gap there. Okay, moving on to our second largest piece of Frodo Stone. And again, using that same concept, using the strata, having a look, what's the most interesting sides to this rock? We've got this side here, we've got this side here, and then also compare it to your other rock that's in there. You don't want them to look too different. Just like we did with the wood, the materials should kind of look natural and look, good together. So with that in mind, this side here definitely looks more closely related to this one here. So I think if we put that there, that's also going to help make sure that wood doesn't float. We will do a little trick later as well to further ensure that wood doesn't float. Okay, so that's the two stones in there. They're quite similar in size. We don't usually use even numbers of stone. It looks too symmetrical. So we have a third stone here. And again, using the same principles as before, which side looks the most interesting, which side suits these the best, and that is definitely this side here. This is actually really interesting. So I'm going to pop that one just there. And then I'm going to take a step back. Okay, I'm quite happy with that. I just fancy a little bit more height from this piece of wood here. So let's try that. Yeah, that's better. Now, is that going to... Okay. This looks a little bit unnatural because we have a gap here, but we will be planting all around this, so that you will lose that gap, and that's going to look, you won't even notice this gap here, so it's going to look more natural once we're planted. Do you think, Dave? Strong? Pleased?
Pleased.
So we have our third piece of wood. We might not need it, but let's just have a little play around and see if we can enhance the layout even more. Sometimes it's good to know when to stop. Sometimes you can just keep adding stuff willy-nilly and it doesn't actually add anything. It starts to take away from the whole impression. So this looks odd now because we've got these two pieces of wood kind of up against each other. But just for an example, we would maybe attach epiphytes around here. So actually that's going to disguise that fact that it looks unnatural. So that's just another tip for you. I might not go for that layout because it does look a little bit odd. This is a good learning point here. This wood here is the same type of wood, but this is actually relatively kind of smooth, whereas this around here has got a lot more texture to it. This is relatively smooth here, so we probably would want that, you know, up against this bit here if we did use it at all. No, it doesn't sit right, that one. Let's try going over here. So it's very much a test and adjust. It's better, isn't it? There we go. So that's just literally wedged into a gap in this other piece of wood here, and that is actually relatively stable. I'm not going to risk not securing it because if we fill up with water now, there is a likelihood that this may float, although it does feel really stable. But we'll use the glue. Can we get the glue? Shall I get it?
Yeah, so
We- Cool. So this is a really good product. I've used this before with when I was doing some scapes with Tropico with Yuri's and a couple of other full-time scapers, European scapers. We did a load of tanks for Tropico for Interzoo. Unfortunately, Interzoo got cancelled because of COVID-19. But yeah, this is a really good product. It's a very strong kind of, I'm not sure what type of glue it is, but it's, yeah, it's like black silicon, but it's really, really strong. And Dave's used it in here before, and you can literally, you know, really give it a good thingy, and it absolutely stays stable. So what we do is prepare the glue. This is called JBL Haru. Do you want to just? How much is this?
$12.99.
It's $12.99. And then just stain your fingers, so I'll just be careful. Oh, we need to snip that end off as well, don't we? Got scissors, yeah. So then what we do is we add the glue to the contact points on the stone. The stone's obviously heavy and secure, so what we can do is, there's a bit here. Do you want to get a close up, David? Let me just move this chair out of the way again. So there's a nice point here where we can add some. And then we've got some down here. There's a bit there actually. Oh, that's a good idea. I never thought of that. Should have got some of Yuri's moss cotton gloves.
Yeah. I've got gloves if you want them.
That's all right, mate.
Not moss cotton.
And then another bit there.
Rodrigo says absolutely gorgeous, George.
Thank you, Rodrigo. Yeah, if you are enjoying the content, guys, hit the like button. It does help. The good old YouTube algorithm. Speaking of YouTube, I'm going to be seeing MD fish tanks on Friday. Yeah, so I'm going down to see my mum in Taunton, which is in the southwest of the UK, which is very near where Mark lives. So MD. So I'm going to pop in and see him, see his new studio, do a bit of a collab with him, which will be exciting. And so that's secured to the rock, and then we can secure this piece of wood to this piece of wood here. Now it does have a drying time of, but it can actually dry underwater, I believe, can't it? So ideally we'd leave this 24 hours before we filled with water, but we're not adding any livestock for a good while, so we can fill with water quicker and obviously do water changes, etc., just in case there's any kind of nasty chemicals from the glue. Okay, let's do I think there's a little bit down there. Just one more bit. You probably won't be able to see it, Dave, so don't worry. So many people have got watching.
410.
Nice. Do us a favour, guys, if you're enjoying it and you've got any friends that might enjoy it, if you share this video, that would be really appreciated. Let's try and get 500 people. That'd be awesome. Okay. So that's the glue, that bit of glue. Okay, now we can think about our planting. Let's just tidy up that soil. Do you have a paintbrush, mate?
In the maintenance room, yeah.
I'll just use this actually. So we could just tidy up a little bit. Top tip is to actually deliberately slope your soil up against the hardscape. This just makes it look more natural, as if the rock has been kind of exposed after the earth has been eroded away. It just gives this really kind of natural impression, which is what we're trying to achieve today. This tank has been battered, hasn't it? Scratches all over it.
It's a relic.
I think it might have even been the first ever Aquascape 600 scaped.
Ever?
Yeah,
Wow.
because I think you got the first one.
Yeah.
I got the first 1200, which was actually a prototype. It wasn't a production model, but I think this is the first ever production 600. Yeah.
Never going to get rid of it.
No, it'll be worth a fortune on eBay in like 30 years' time. You like the tropical aqua cubes? You know, like I think Yuri's bought one off eBay recently from the UK, so I spotted it on eBay. Yuri's has always been after a tropical aqua cube. Obviously, he's Tropica social media manager, and he's a big fan, of course. And I spotted this eBay listing, sent him the link, and he goes, "Oh, can you pick it up for me?" And so yeah, it's actually his stag do soon. He's getting married. Yeah, he's getting married next month. So we're I think we're going to go hiking or something crazy like that. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Yeah, anyway, I'm digressing. Okay, so that's the hardscape complete. I really like that, Dave.
Yeah, really strong, mate. Love it.
Yeah.
See that front?
It's really taking advantage of that front to rear depth, isn't it?
Yes, yeah, because you've got it on the right side there.
Yeah. So there's still plenty of room for planting, got plenty of room for the epiphytes. We might actually need some more epiphytes actually, because it's such a great space there. Excellent. So hopefully that wood is now nice and secure. Another kind of risk lowering factor, I don't know what the word is. We could put a stone on just before we fill up with water, just strategically positioned on the wood. So when it does get filled, that wood is definitely going to stay down. And then what you can do then, if you're brave enough, you can, once the water's full, you can really, really slowly remove that rock. And if you see any movement in the wood at all, pop it back on again. But I've done at least 2 workshops now where I've had floating wood, and it is just the most embarrassing thing. And the trouble is, when you've got the wood, and like we have today, and it's quite deeply buried in the soil, the issue is when the wood floats, it obviously brings all that soil up. You've planted all around that soil, and it probably brings all those plants up as well. So it's a complete nightmare. Right, let's do another photo before I forget. I think that's okay. I'm just thinking it's a little bit empty at the top here, but we can plant, if we put the stems, we could almost do, we could almost do triangular. You could deliberately keep the stems quite tall around here and then trim them down here, but we don't really have any mid.
Rotala green, that goes lower.
Yeah, so we keep the Rotala green there, the Rotundefolia in the middle, and then the Lindernia on the left, because the Lindernia grows straight up. Yeah. Just giving some hints away about what plants we're using there. Okay, good. So just to recap, Tropica soil, a mixture of the normal and the powder type. We used a total of probably 2 bags altogether. There was a couple of half bags. Then we put the wood in. We started off with the biggest piece of wood, which is river wood. Then we used a smaller piece of wood. And then we put our Frodo stones in, starting off with the biggest piece, working our way down, thinking about positioning them naturally so they complement each other. And then we added our final piece of wood here, which just complements everything. It looks like it's part of this piece of wood, doesn't it? And I think, hopefully you'll agree, it just looks coherent, it looks natural, and that's what we're trying to achieve this evening. Okay, good. Planting. So if Dave wants to give a bit of a close-up of the plants now, I will go through the plants. I'll talk about each species at a time. Got to love a rhythmic pounding effect, haven't you? It's not that kind of channel, George.
Too early.
It's too early. Someone told me off in the comments for swearing on one of the live streams. Yeah, I very rarely swear. I was really disappointed with myself. So we're going to start off with a carpeting plant that isn't actually that commonly used. And actually, I really love it. I've got it going on in my Tropica Aqua Cube at home. I'm going to take the whole thing. Opsis Brasiliensis. So all these plants are from Tropica. For those that don't know, Tropica are a Danish aquarium plant company. Huge greenhouses. Dave's been there. I've been there a lot. So I was going there every month before COVID kicked in. And they produce some of the world's best quality aquarium plants. And they have a very good labelling system. We don't actually have any labels. Oh, yes, we do. In fact, we've got the 3 labels here. How cool is that? So, Dave, do you want to look at these for a sec, Dave? So they have a really great labelling system, Tropica. They have easy, medium, and advanced plants. So the vast majority in here are all easy. I think there's one medium category, which we'll talk about later. But easy means you can grow it in no CO2, low light. Medium definitely needs a little bit more light and probably needs CO2. Advanced means lots of light, lots of CO2. So low energy, kind of medium energy, high energy setup. So it's a patented labelling system. It just makes it really easy for you to choose the plants. You know, if you have a beginner kind of setup without CO2 injection, you know, without much lighting, then go for the easy category plants. Now the great news is, actually Tropica produce more easy plants than any other category. And there are, you know, I'm a really big fan of using easy plants because they're just beginner friendly, they're just as beautiful as the more advanced plants. And it just means you're going to more likely succeed with them, especially if you don't have particularly, you know, strong lighting or CO2. So we've pre-prepared these. I think we're using 5 pots altogether, and we've split each pot into individual portions. If we had the time and the patience, etc., and the energy, we could split these up even more and get an even kind of more evenly spread carpet, but we haven't really got the time for that this evening, so we can plant in kind of portions this size, no problem. These tweezers are nice, Dave.
Are they the 88 ones?
Yeah, very nice. I'll have to treat myself to some Gucci ADA tools. So we just insert those portions into the dry soil. I almost always plant into dry soil now. It's just much cleaner. The plants tend to stay anchored better. So when you do fill up the aquarium with water, those plants are going to be more likely to stay in the soil. And you don't get as much mess. If you imagine this, what I used to do was actually fill up the soil with water just above the soil level. But the thing is, every time you plant into wet soil, it kind of crumbles the soil a little bit, and then you get like this mud building up on your tweezers. And then what happens then is you put your next portion of plants up, and then what happens is you transfer all that mud onto the plant, you put that in, and then what that means is all these plants then will have these bits of mud on. And when you do actually fill up with water, it actually makes the water a lot more cloudy. So that's another reason that I like to plant into dry soil. About you, Dave, are you a dry plant man? Dry soil man?
Oh, I do it the other way. Give it good mist first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why. Just always have.
Oh well, each to their own. And that's a really good point. You know, there's lots of different ways to achieve great results. You know, just because I do it one way doesn't mean that's the best way. And you know, sometimes it's a case of finding what works for you. So you can see Opsis Brasiliensis is a super chat, £5. Thank you for the super chat, guys. Really appreciate it. I can't see who super chatted, but just to let you know, if you do want to drop a super chat, I really appreciate it. I don't expect super chats. I like to save them for the kind of Q&A sessions that I do. Speaking of which, I've had lots of feedback. People like missing the Sunday night live streams that I've been doing. Now, the thing is, my Sunday now tends to be working on the podcast, so something kind of has to give sometimes. But I am considering doing a regular live stream on a Thursday evening, so that might be an option. Now, the downside to that is the time difference. So in the United States, which is my biggest audience, if I did it at sort of 7 in the evening, that's maybe, you know, anything from midday to 2 p.m. Most people are kind of working on a Thursday, so that's why the Sundays were great, because most people are kind of off work. But maybe that's better than nothing, doing it on a Thursday, and you can always watch the replays as well, which I think are still quite valuable, hopefully. Okay, so we're kind of planting quite a uniform carpet at the moment, sticking to the same species. It's a slow grower, the Opsis Brasiliensis, so it's a low maintenance carpeting plant. It will take a good few weeks to form a solid carpet, and because it's slow growing, you know, it won't need much maintenance. When it does eventually kind of get too overgrown, it will start to kind of really mat into each other and form a really, really dense carpet. What you can do then, you can actually hack it right back, and hopefully, because we've got a really kind of great growing system here with the lighting, the CO2, the soil, fertilizers, circulation, those plants will just spring back, and you can just kind of keep hacking it back, hopefully. This is a technique that I actually did in my Aquascape 1200 with the Halanthus Tenellum Green, which is actually a very fast grower. It's probably about 5 times is faster grower than the Liliopsis. So, but that technique worked really well. Just literally getting your scissors in there. Wave scissors are really good. Have you got any wave scissors, Dave? So these kind of scissors here, these are perfect for doing carpets. So top tip, Tropica also do wave scissors as well as ADA. But if you're feeling really posh, then you can always go for ADA, Dave, can't you? So I actually really enjoy this process. The planting process is one of my favourite parts of aquascaping. I mean, I enjoy it all. Let's be clear. I enjoy everything. The hardscaping, the planting, talking, photographing, filming. You know, I'm very, very grateful to have this as my job. But yeah, I really enjoy the planting process. It's very therapeutic. If I wasn't talking to you guys, I'd just be doing this in silence, or maybe have some music on, and just really zone out. You know, you're doing a very simple task over and over again. It really gives you an opportunity to kind of get into this mindfulness state and just really relax and just forget about everything. Forget about all your problems, all your anxieties, all your worries. Just focus on you and the plant and the soil and the tweezers, and just really enjoy that sense of present in the moment. You know, I think, you know, modern society, we're always, you know, we're bombarded with notifications all the time, aren't we, on our phones, and, you know, the media, the news, it's all kind of, you know, scaremongering and a lot of all, you know, dark stuff going on in the world. But when it's just you and the plants, that's just a really special time for me. So I'm leaving a little bit of a gap behind the glass to give a little bit of space for the plants to grow forward. I'm just looking above the tank now, looking at the most kind of empty spaces. Where do I need to kind of fill? I want to show you guys something. Dave, you can get close up for this one. So a lot of folk ask me, how do you manage to get the plants in, you know, without pulling them out again? It's just a knack, it's just practice, but I will show you a technique that you can guarantee that the plant won't come back out again when you plant. So let's do that now. So I'm going to plant into this space here. So what you can do is pop it in with your tweezers. And now, just to guarantee that that doesn't come out again, you can just pop your finger on there gently, lift your tweezers out, and then that's guaranteed to stay there. Real easy technique, but very effective. Okay, we're nearly done with the Liliopsis. I think there's just a few straggly, there's one bit there we can use. So Liliopsis brasiliensis, it's a slow grower, it's an easy category plant. You can grow it in non-CO2 injected tanks. I have it growing in my Tropica Aqua Cube without a filter. There's no CO2 injection and low lighting. So, you know, it is a really, really lovely plant. So that's the foreground carpet done now, for now. That's all right, doesn't it? Nice and straightforward, nothing too fancy. Now we're going to work our way back. I tend to work forwards, backwards, and then finally the epiphyte plants. Next, we're going to plant one of my favourite crypts. I love crypts. They're just low maintenance. You just plant them and let them do their thing. And they probably don't need any maintenance for 12 months plus. And yeah, I just love them. So this is going to be the next plant back. So I'm just quite keen to fill up this gap here on the left, in between the stone and the glass. And then we work our way across. So this, you know, I'm not making any excuses. This is a simple, classic nature aquarium. This is my wheelhouse. This is my kind of comfort zone. And, you know, I'm not apologising for that. Dave wanted, you know, you said do what you want, George, didn't you? You didn't really have any, you didn't give me a brief. So, you know, I come to Aquarium Gardens a lot, and you know, I like to see. It's really great to see my work in here, but I really wanted to see something that I think represents me, and this kind of aquascape is is my style. So I deliberately went for this kind of classic nature aquarium style. You know, I'm not a huge fan of diorama. I massively respect the technical processes that are going on, the photography, you know, the artistry, and I think there's some absolutely breathtaking works. But for me, you know, my aquascapes are they're more simple, they're more accessible, you know, they're easily repeatable. And for me, that's where I get my motivation. That's where I get my kind of kicks, if you like. If I know someone has copied one of my aquascapes, for me, that's brilliant, you know, and that's what I strive for. You know, I just want to make aquascaping easier for people. And that's why I tend to stick to these kind of easier layouts. So this is the Cryptocoryne X Willisii. It's actually like a giant parva, very similar leaf shape, very slow growing. It won't grow much taller, maybe an inch or so taller. The leaves will actually change shape slightly. They'll become a little bit more sword-like. So at the moment we have like a thin stem with a bit more of a wider leaf at the edge, on the end there. They'll gradually get more kind of equal. But yeah, just a really nice. They really harmonise nicely with the Brasiliensis. It's a very similar colour. It's a similar texture. We've got this kind of vertical texture going on. So it just looks quite naturalistic. We did think about putting some albedo brown in here, Cryptocoryne albedo brown, if we wanted to add a little bit of colour. But we'll see. We'll see how it looks at the end. And the great thing about aquascaping is, you know, this is just the planting process, the initial planting process. There's nothing to stop you from evolving that layout, you know, and that's what you should do. You know, as the aquascape evolves, you'll think, oh, not quite so sure on that plant there, so you can move it, or not quite sure, you know, sure on that species there, it's a bit fast growing, or I'll swap that out for something a bit lower maintenance. You know, and that's what aquascaping should be about. It's all about the journey. It's all about, you know, enjoying that process from the creation side through the evolution side. And then for me, the final chapter is those kind of final photo shoots, the final video that I make. And I really felt that process with the Aquascape 1200, in fact, when I did the last kind of video, and I did a bit of a retrospective of 4 years of that tank. And it had, you know, five or six aquascapes in there. And yeah, it was just a really great tank, actually. I just really enjoyed. It's the biggest kind of rimless tank I've ever had, and yeah, I learnt so much, and I hopefully it kind of taught some of you guys maybe some lessons as well. And yeah, I'm rambling now, aren't I? But hopefully everyone's enjoying that. Okay, we'll give that a bit of a spray. So if you didn't check out Aquarium Gardens' YouTube channel, I don't think have you done a video for a while, Dave?
Done one last month, a couple of videos.
Okay.
Recently.
Yeah, but check them out if you don't follow Aquarium Gardens on YouTube yet. They've got some really great tutorial videos. I used to do a couple for you, didn't I? Do you remember? We did like Hardscape tutorials and.
Still on there.
Yeah. Okay, so that's pretty much the foreground done now. I need some, got some more crypts to use up actually. I wonder if we use a different crypt here. Or maybe, no, Lagonendra is a bit red, isn't it? It can go a bit red.
Yeah.
Have you got crypts, Wendourtiere green?
Yes.
As a pot or as a one to grow, or both?
One to grow both.
Both, okay. We'll maybe get the pots for the instant impact.
Yeah.
We can have a walk around and they can see where we go. Yeah. Should we do that now?
Yeah.
Let's just plant these. So I'm just mindful that we've got quite a big gap around here. We are going to plant stem plants, but there's a distinct gap here. And what we don't want to do is have a short plant and then suddenly going up to a tall plant. It's nice to have a transition there. So we'll do a bit more of a medium-sized crypt behind this Willisii. Okay. Let's go. Ooh. Okay, Dave's going to follow me to the plant room. Harrison's skiving. It's right, mate, we're alive. Where are they, mate?
Just down
It's there. Willisii. Ah. No worries. Let's do some more Willisii then. And then some Parva at the front. Let's just show them this over here. So, for those that don't know, aquarium gardens, they store all of their plants hydroponically. So these are growing, they're actually physically growing in the store like they would be doing in the greenhouses where they're supplied. So you can guarantee when you buy your plants from aquarium gardens, you're going to get the healthiest specimens. They're going to be in great condition, they ship better. Because they've been grown immersed, they've been grown out of water, the plants themselves are more physically robust and they're actually going to adapt to your water chemistry much better versus a submersed plant. So huge fan of this kind of growing system. Cool. Okay, so we'll just prep these very quickly. So remove the pots, split apart the two halves of rock wool. What I like to do is just tear the roots like that, and then you can split those up really quickly. Got another tray, and there, and then just do the same again. Now the thing is with crypts, you can sometimes experience crypt melt. What that is the plant just adapting to its new environment. And the good news is, because it's got a healthy rootstock, hopefully if you're buying a healthy aquarium plant to start with, that's going to quickly recover and you'll get new leaf growth which is readily adapted to your new water chemistry. So don't be afraid of crypt melt, it's not a problem. So some aquascapers will actually trim, they'll actually cut all those leaves right back, got the healthy rootstock, and that's going to produce new leaves that way. I prefer to actually see the plants before, you know, my water doesn't tend to melt the crypts so much, so I'm quite lucky, I guess. Do you get much melt with new crypts? No. I think if you've got good CO2 it helps, and a good substrate. So this is some Parva, which like I said, I don't know if you guys remember, it's just basically a miniature version of the Willisii there, so really nice. It's going to really blend in nicely with the Liliopsis as well. You can split them apart as much as you like. The more you split it, obviously, the more economical coverage you get. Okay, that's that. Let's just pop them here for now. Tweezers. I love these tweezers. Okay, we've got a crypt Parva there. So this is actually going to, I'm actually going to put this amongst the Liliopsis just to give it a bit more of a complex texture. A little bit too kind of monotonous, a little bit uniform on its own, that Liliopsis. So if we actually insert the Parva, it should, I mean the Parva is slower growing than the Liliopsis, but hopefully it will look nice once they both mature together. Okay, last bit of Parva, I think. So in the chat, guys, hope you're all getting on well with each other. Hope there's no nasty trolls on there. I'm not sure if I've got any moderators on today, so.
Candy.
Oh, Candy's there. Candy's a legend. I love Candy. Candy's definitely getting a signed copy of my book sent over. I'm hoping to see her actually, because I'm so grateful for the hard work she does moderating my videos, my live streams.
Mark Dawes, I've not told you. Not told you.
Oh, okay. Hi, Mark. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, I had a really great time with Mark. Trouble is, I drank I've never drank so much coffee in ages. I had 3 coffees, and I'll make them really strong, you know, because I do like the freshly ground beans and everything. I was like absolutely bouncing off the walls after he went. I was like just chatting absolute rubbish to Emma, and but I got a lot of work done.
Certainly well, I get work done, to be fair.
Yeah, we're addicted to caffeine, aren't we? Some more parva here, so that'll be nice towards the front. Looking all right, is it? Oh, we need to do some photos, don't we? Have I done any pictures with it planted yet at all?
I think you've done one. The Opsis.
Did I?
So next scripts.
Yeah. No, we didn't do any. It's all right. It's what it is. What it is. What it is. So we're nearly ready for the background plants now. I don't know if the guys watching saw Harrison, but for those that don't know, Harrison is my stepson. And how long has he been working here now?
Best part of 3 years at least,
Yeah.
I think, maybe more.
He was quite, he must have, because he's like a man now, isn't he? When he first started here, he was like a young boy, wasn't he?
Yeah, it's like 3 of me.
He's got his, yeah, and now he's like bigger than I am. But yeah, he's actually 18 on the 2nd of October. Yeah. Yeah, that makes me feel old. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the background plants now. So we're going to start off from the left. This is the 3 stems here, isn't it? So we've got the Lindernia. So this is Lindernia Rotunderfolia. A bit of an exclusive for you guys. This is going to be the plant profile coming out on Sunday on Tropica's YouTube channel. If you don't subscribe to that, make sure you do. Loads of great content on there, 2 videos a week. And then this one here is Rotala, used to be called Rotala Green, but is now called Rotala Rotundefolia Green. And then the last one here is the original Rotala Rotundefolia. So 3 different background stems. Hopefully will complement each other. Now I don't often use Rotalas very much, but I do really love them. And actually the first ever Rotala I succeeded with was Rotala Rotundefolia, but it didn't get that colour. And a lot of people do struggle to get the colour with Rotala Rotundefolia. There's lots of different actual subspecies and different varieties, and I think a lot of it depends on which one you get. But this is the Lindernia. This is, I think, a plant that Dave hasn't grown before. Is that right? Yeah, so nice to see a different species. So this will grow up hopefully straight upright, and the great thing about Lindernia Rotundefolia is that it will grow with no CO2 injection. It will grow under low lighting, and it's one of the few plants that will actually maintain healthy leaf growth towards the bottom of the portion. A lot of stem plants you tend to get die off, the leaves tend to die back because of lack of light, but Lindernia is quite unique in the fact that it will maintain that leaf health at the bottom part. Now you can see, if Dave can get a close-up of the leaves, this is a variegated version here. You can see those beautiful kind of yellow-white veins there. Now, really interestingly, these only occur if it's been originally produced via tissue culture. If it gets produced via seeds, it goes pure green. So that's very interesting, isn't it? And sometimes it will randomly produce pure green shoots with pure green leaves, but if you trim them back, the next one will be with the veins.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Every day's a school day.
Every day is a school day.
Yeah. I've just basically told everyone the complete plant profile. But a great stem plant, if you want to try something a bit different, if you haven't got CO2 injection, or if you have got CO2 injection, it will still grow, it will just grow better. But yeah, something to consider if you want to try something a bit newer. When you trim it, it will produce side shoots, so you can promote bushier growth. And I just think it's a really interesting stem. Interesting to see how it grows in here. You've got good lighting, CO2, etc. It should do really well. Definitely need to get some of these tweezers. How much are these?
50 quid.
Mates rates? 49.
49.98.
Okay, we're going to do the green on the right, won't we? Because that kind of going to come over.
Yeah.
So next we'll plant the Rotala Rotundefolia. Now this is another fun fact for you. The reason it's called Rotundifolia is Latin for round leaf, basically. And it's round right now, but this has been grown in its immersed state, so it's been grown out of water. Once it adapts to its underwater state, it becomes a much more needle-like. And depending on the lighting and the nutrient conditions, it might turn different colours. So it's a little bit of a lucky dip, I find, with Rotala Rotundefolia. You never quite know how it's going to turn out. What I can say is the very general rule of thumb, the more light you give it, the more colour you'll get. And that's the same with most plants. A lot of the red pigmentation you find in plants is almost the equivalent of a human sunburn or a tan. It's the plant kind of defending itself against too much light. The green part of the plant is chlorophyll. So when it has loads and loads of light, it doesn't actually need so much chlorophyll. So it often changes colour. And then depending on your nutrient profile as well, that can have an impact on what colour it changes. But some red plants are kind of, they're genetically designed to be red. A good example is Altananthera, Nymphia lotus, plants like this, which are going to be red no matter what. And then other plants will have to be induced to be red, either through, lighting and nutrient conditions. So it's starting to take shape now. It's going to really come into its own, I think, when we add the epiphytes, which is one of the reasons I like to add them at the end, to give a bit of a final flurry. Okay, that's the Rotala Rotundefolia. Now this is the Rotala Rotundefolia green. So this is very similar to the Rotala Rotundefolia, but it like I said, it just stays green. It also has quite a distinctive growth pattern. In good lighting, it has this cascading effect. So it will kind of droop, it will go up and then it will kind of droop forward. And hopefully, what I'm thinking is, we let the Lindernia grow quite tall up here because it grows vertically. The Rotala Rotundefolia will kind of trim so it's coming down like this. And then the Rotala green is going to hopefully kind of cascade forward over this Crypt Willisii. And then we'll have a bit of a triangular effect going on. It might not quite work like that in the long run, but that's the idea right now. Sometimes you can have like the best laid plans and the plants don't kind of behave as you expect. Sometimes that can actually give you a nice surprise. It can actually give you something that you're really happy with. Other times, you might be disappointed, and then it's time to try something different. Don't be disheartened. You know, just maybe put the plants in a different position, or maybe try a different plant. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It is absolutely the best way to learn. Huge fan of the growth mindset. You know, if something goes wrong, it's an opportunity to grow and learn and do it better next time. Okay, we're nearly there. Ready for the epiphytes? Make sure I do a photo, Dave, before we. How long have we been running for now? Does it say?
18 minutes, 1 hour and 20.
Okay.
Hour and 10 even.
Do you remember how long the battery lasted last time?
It's about 2.5 hours.
Oh, we should be okay then.
Yeah, got plenty of time.
Getting there, isn't it?
I love it, the greenery it gets.
Yeah. I like the textures on this one.
Yeah.
So I will try to do an update on this. I do come here probably at least once a week, don't I, usually?
Yeah.
Normally it's just because I've got, I don't know, anything. Just a nice place to be. Okay, so that is our substrate plants in, all the plants that need photo. Good one, thank you, mate. It will be said. Oh yeah, looking nice. Okay, now it's time for our epiphytes. My favourites. Oh, we've got some hydrocotyle. Let's pop that in actually before we. So this is a kind of relatively new plant that I don't use very often, and originally got the idea from this tank here, this Aquascape 900 on the right, which Dave created, beautiful scape. And it's just a really interesting plant. I'm not actually sure if it's going to suit the scape though, because the textures are a bit odd.
It's different to the palm and stuff, and the Opsis.
But it's going to...
Maybe break it up.
Yeah. Do you think... Because it'll grow... Depends how tall it grows, doesn't it, I guess?
Well,
should we pop it in there anyway? See how it goes?
it's easy enough to change your mind.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just nice to break up the textures a little bit. So let's just pop that one there. So this is Hydrocotyle Verticalata. This is actually labelled as an advanced plant. So you need good lighting, CO2, good fertilizers, good soil ideally. But it does actually carpet. Do you have to trim that back much in there?
Not really, just when they get too tall, just chop them off.
Oh, okay, that's cool. But they remind me of little mushrooms. So we've got one there, we've got one there. Let's put one over here. There we go, perfect. Okay, moving on to our epiphytes now. Let's start off with this beautiful Trident Fern. This is my favourite Microsorum. Actually, it's labelled as an easy plant, but I think Dave and I are both in agreement that it's not easy. If you want to get the best out of it, it'll survive, but it won't really grow and look lush unless you give it CO2 and good lighting. So this is already attached to wood. This is called Aqua Decor, which is a tropical product. It gives you instant kind of instant impact, and we could arguably pop that in there and hide the wood. But what I like to do is actually peel it away like this. It seems a bit of a waste, but this is a much better specimen that you would get in a pot because it's been readily attached to the wood. Now this is a focal point plant, so we definitely need to make sure this is positioned appropriately. So going back to our rule of thirds, that's about here, and there just so happens to be a lovely gap there which we can push this into nice and gently. And now you can see already that has made a huge impact on the overall scape. Kind of brought it to life, I think. We do have some more if you wanted to use it, but I think that's okay for now. Okay, that's definitely worth a photo. Definitely worth a photo, isn't it? Now we've got loads of opportunities around here to attach our plants, so we probably won't need to use any super glue. The next plant I'm going to use is Bulbitis. Big fan of this. Don't use it enough really in my own scapes, so maybe that's going to change. So now this has the potential to grow quite big as well, so we need to be mindful of where we're going to position this. I think we'll just wedge a piece there, might look quite nice. And then another piece here. Nice.
Yeah, very nice.
Good. Now we've got some Anubias Petite. And again, we've got so many great places where we can attach this. Anubias does really well in the shade. Anubias is actually named after I think it's the Egyptian god of death, Anubis. And death, you know, dark, and that's why it's called Anubias because it likes the dark. There you go, another fun fact for you.
An encyclopedia.
And let's put another piece over here. And the great thing about Epiphytes is that you can just wedge it in those gaps, and then eventually those roots are going to crawl over the hardscape and self-attach and be really nice and secure. So we do have a big gap in here. I wonder what we should do there, Dave. We could just leave it because this is going to kind of droop over. This is going to fill out around here.
They're probably going to grow out about there.
Yeah. We don't want to just put plants in because it's just going to look a bit weird.
It's wood.
Yeah, the wood's a nice feature, isn't it, on its own? Okay. So we've got some more Anubias. Let's pop that. There's actually little gaps. In fact, we've got some. We can put it under here. That might look good. You can actually. This Frodo Stone has got so much texture. There's actually gouges in it where you can probably wedge. Another bit here. Now this is going to be invisible if you're looking at the tank from the front, but when you're looking at it from above you can see these epiphytes kind of wedged in here. Last one. Cool. Okay, spray. In fact, I'm going to do. I'll put this on a timer, and then I'm going to take a photo of me spraying because that's good for the thing. Ah. Perfect. Okay, I think it'd be rude not to put some moss in there.
So,
Yeah, I think we'll go Christmas. Yeah. Just wipe that. Have you got a little cloth or anything? Yeah. Most of it's on the outside.
that needed cleaning.
Yeah. Got the nearite snail eggshells there. You see?
Stuck to it.
Yeah, so stubborn, aren't they? Okay, last plant we're going to do today is Vesicularia dubiana Christmas. Actually a medium category moss, although you can grow it in non-CO2. Have you got some regular super glue?
Yeah, it's fallen down.
Oh, okay. Thanks, mate. So you can buy this in the 1-2 grow or the regular portions. This is the regular portion. I'm looking forward to my beer in a minute, Dave. It's been so hot. It's been so hot today, hasn't it? Okay. So, top tip when you're using super glue: use the tiniest little amount that you can, and then think about where the moss is going to be to look the most natural. You know, don't necessarily just put it randomly. You know, have a little think. Think about composition. Think about where it might look in nature. Moss often grows in kind of cracks and where two things might be meeting. So with that in mind, let's put a little bit here where this glue was. This is where it splodges all over my face, isn't it?
Twist it so far to it. Yeah. Come up.
There we go.
Now, yeah.
Okay, and then we just put that down gently. And then get a small portion. You can just literally pick off a small portion. And the trick is with moss, don't layer it too thick, because the lower portions, the lower level, you know, the lower layers won't be getting any. I think I've just glued the trident leaf on there as well. There we go. Okay, so that looks natural right there. And then I think let's have a little bit over here somewhere. Down here. Nice little crack in there. That's a bit mindful to get super glue on your twin star. And then don't push too hard, because you'll just end up with glue on your finger, which no one likes. And then we just keep repeating that process. Nice bit down here. So super glue will dry white underwater. So use as little amount as possible and try to cover it as effectively as possible with the moss so you don't see that white, because it does look really ugly, of course. Let's do some on the wood now. So there's a nice crack down here. I love moss because it gives a real kind of ancient look to an aquascape, like a Jurassic kind of forest feel. Adds a sense of maturity right away. Now there's a good example there. You might just be able to see that white spot there. Hopefully that will overgrow eventually anyway. Okay, next let's do a little blob on this bit of wood here. Stick some on here, and just maybe a bit here. I think they were almost there. This is the sawn off bit here, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have you got any, like, do you know the ones I mean, the bonsai trimmer? Have you seen them? They're like a real kind of hard, heavy duty, sharp edge to them.
Make it a little bit more natural then.
Yeah.
Okay, good, mate.
Cheers, mate. Okay, there we go. Shall we put we can put that down on the tripod, and they can, if they want to stay and watch the fill, they can.
Yeah, cool.
So I'll just fill me for a minute, because I'll just say a cheerio for people that don't want to stay and watch it being filled up. Oh, camera. Yeah, that's good. Okay. Okay, guys, hope you enjoyed that. Quite a simple nature aquarium style aquascape here, and a beautiful Aquascape 600. Real classic design, foreground, mid-ground, background plants, strong hardscape, naturalistic feel. Pretty much all low maintenance plants apart from the stem plants in the background. Almost all easy plants apart from a couple of medium category, which was the Christmas moss and the Rotala Rotundefolia green, but should mature into something really quite beautiful. I think in a couple of weeks or so it's really going to transform. Those stem plants are going to grow and fill the background. The carpet's going to really start to fill up nicely, and the epiphytes will start to look more mature as well. And before I go, I just want to thank Dave so much. I want to thank Tropical Aquarium Plants for supplying the soil and the beautiful plants. I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've really enjoyed making this scape for you guys and for Dave. You know, I don't want to kind of get a bit sentimental, but I'm so passionate about aquascaping. I love it so much, and to have opportunities like this to show what can be created in, I don't know, an hour and a half or so. I really hope you may have learned something, maybe you've been inspired by it, and hopefully you can use some of maybe the lessons you've learnt today in your own aquascapes at home, or wherever you aquascape, maybe in your office or whatever. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. I've loved it. I've really enjoyed this one, Dave. The fifth or sixth one in here we've done?
This is the sixth one.
Sixth one, and
in this tank.
it's definitely going back to my roots, this one, in a classic style, yeah. So I'll say cheerio now. What we are going to do is put the camera down on a tripod. We're going to fill up with water really slowly. Obviously you can stay around and watch that, but I'm not going to be kind of talking to you guys. We're going to be tidying up, etc. But do use that opportunity to chat amongst yourselves. There's a live chat going on, hopefully. Hope there's some good community stuff going on. If the moderators don't want to hang around for that, then thank you so much, guys, for moderating this stream. I really appreciate you, and I will reward you when I get to see you eventually. So yeah, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed that. Share it if you like. Maybe someone you think might be get into aquascaping, then let them know. It's a beautiful hobby, and I love it. I love you too. Take care. Keep on scaping. Cheerio. Cool. And do maybe a final flyby of the.
Very good.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for filming.
Yes. Pleasure.
Yeah, I'll stick that down.
Yeah, I'm killing.
We'll take some more shots of it fill in with a big camera. I'll stick it in this middle bit here. Are you tired? Is your arm tired?
Yeah, no, shaking. wood's really nice.
Yeah, okay. Stick it down. Yeah, let's turn the microphone off and then. Cool.
Cool, mate. What is the mic off?
Yeah, I've turned it off now, so we can swear and everything if we want.
Say we don't like.
Oh, I love everyone, eh? Or do you want a colander? You got one?
I was thinking that because I was trying to strategically place it, but it's going to ruin it.
Where is it?
Oh no, I'll tell you what.
You got another technique?
Yeah. Bit of filter underneath it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, still got 350 people watching.
Most of the time.
Oh, my mic keeps switching itself on. That's funny.
getting messages saying the mic's not off.
Oh, okay. I can't switch this. It's so weird. It doesn't switch off. Look. And it just switches this up on again.
Strange.
Yeah. Oh, it's done.
Strange.
Great.
Great.
Cheers, mate. Just put cheers in front. I think the mic's on. I don't think I can turn it off. I'm not bothered. Just do a cheers to everyone. Cheers. Cheers to the Skype.
Please.
That's nice and clear, isn't it? No floating wood yet.
Well, fingers crossed.
You can sort it out tomorrow for this. I think that feels very secure.
What's all out the field yet in COT?
Really? Take long, will it? Have you seen the 850 thermo yet? Did you see the unboxing?
Yeah. Got them in already actually.
Have you? Will it fit in there? Will it fit in?
I'm putting 2 on the 1500.
Nice. Will it fit in this cabinet, say?
I haven't actually unboxed one yet, to be honest. I haven't tried it.
Really at all?
Are they? I'll fit in the 1500 nice and easy.
Yeah.
Is it one extra basket?
Yeah, I think so. There's an Aquascape now. We need to do another sort of walk around blogging here at some point, don't we?
Yeah, I need to do
Can I see AD Mize tank at 1500? It's really nice, isn't it?
It's no soil, is it?
No, just sand.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, loads of epiphytes. We've got this really cool water change system, HMA, directly from the mains, HMA, and then he's got his drain. So it's all automatic.
Yeah.
You know, you can just.
That's a dream.
Dream for you.
It would be. Come around here and say to always.
Is that what the Green Aqua do? Do they have that sort of thing?
I have no idea. I should think they've got something.
They've got that massive RO room next to the toilets, next to the bathroom.
It's got RO on top, yeah.
Yeah. I need to go over there again. I need to go and see Adam as well. Wash together. You're mates about it, aren't you?
Yeah. Get Frodo Stone off in ADA bits and bobs.
Have you been to Green Aqua?
No. I was hoping that was on the cards for this year. There's a plug that.
But then
It's
you have
quickly squashed.
Yeah, the baby kind of puts the. Yeah.
So that won't be for a while, but now I've got.
I've already got a thing about going to Australia next, I think. Next big trip. I'm not sure I'm going to be going to America again because obviously travel restrictions and.
Try and keep the left side more open then than the right, and get the right.
I think so, yeah.
So the right side more open, the left side more bushy with those stems. Keep a bit of open space here.
Yeah, if I had my time again, I'd probably have a bit of wood coming up here, But I think once the stems, I don't think it's going to be an issue. Just at the moment, it just looks very empty. They get exposed around here, but obviously the stems are just too short right now. Yeah, give it a month and then the. Yeah, I'll be interested to see how the parva goes into the Opsis as well.
They're all quite slow growing, really. Even the Opsis is not very quick.
Yeah. So your mum won't be long. Oh, really? Oh, okay. Is it a game or just training?
Again, but I'm not playing with them there.
Okay. We just support them.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's getting hot in here, so take off your clothes. How can I take my clothes off? Big thumb label.
She sent me sites and things or it.
Quite a new one.
Yeah. I think it's 40 wide, maybe 45.
It's quite nice, isn't it?
Yeah, just a bit deeper.
Sold it,
A couple, yeah, we sell them just because if someone wants a cheap open top tank, basically,
Yeah.
it's things because they're under 100 quid still.
They're pretty good. I can't believe you're not doing the demo clean outputs.
Yeah, I know. Amazon selling them for about 70 quid. Apparently, but we're getting them in soon. Actually, I haven't had them for about 3 months. But
Why not? Not like on spaces.
since on its last legs, we really need one.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for Harrison today. all looking good in there? Yeah. Next week, same time next week, yeah? Yeah, perfect.
Good night, mate.
See you later. Fill one in a sec.
About 350. 350, isn't it?
Yeah, I said 600, didn't I? It's 350.
Still plenty enough for that, Sam. I just won 600 on the 1200 for ages.
Yeah, we've got core sponges on that as well, so we only fill half, the basket's half full.
This uses supplied media, so just half of it.
We take out most of it.
It's smooth, isn't it?
Yeah, we just put in matrix or neo media.
Okay.
Yeah, looking forward to getting 250s and the 1500. Technically that's 6 times turnover as it stands.
Yeah.
It'll boost it to 8 times turnover with the 850s on there.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll see much difference. Everybody's loving it.
A great fish.
Yeah, I really like them. They're just perfect for that scope.
Yeah. Yeah, couldn't have chosen a better fish. Philippe's suggested those.
Yeah. What's your favourite scope in the store?
At the moment, probably Philippe's at the moment. But it changes almost weekly.
That's doing well, isn't it?
Yeah. Took out a load of moss the other week out of that one, so kind of took the moss out, hoovered underneath, and put the moss back.
Oh.
Kind of it.
Shame about the skimmers, aren't they? They're quite ugly.
Yes, more to sort of. Well, we can't fit a glass skimmer on this one, 'cause it's just too.
Yeah.
It's a shallow tank, so it's just too big. Like on the electric one.
Is that the Crystal Aqua?
Yeah. I can't pick myself to take it down.
Ah, great.
Keep it going as long as I can.
How long has it been? That's been running a couple of years, isn't it?
Yeah, it's about 28 months actually. Yeah.
You want to do like little info cards on them, maybe?
I know. Yeah, I thought about that before. I need to put all the
Or the
Equipment,
and the
plant,
livestock, yeah.
yeah. Kind of use it for that tank to farm the regalia,
Yeah.
Hardscapes.
Yeah, no, why not?
Someone commented 300 people watching tank fill water.
Yeah. So if I come in Sunday, I need to come in before 3?
Yes, yeah, Stephen and Ellen will be in. Saturday got the plants, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Saturday's obviously till 5, Sunday before 3.
Okay.
So what we're going to use on you need glue that?
Yeah.
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 You're doing it Sunday, yeah.
I'm actually doing it rains.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, he's getting it in, and then he's giving me that as payment for the work I'm doing for him. We do it's all promotional stuff.
Nice.
Yeah. I want to get some more moss art from the gallery. It's really nice, that moss art, yeah. It's just like maintenance free.
Signal the maintenance.
Yeah, I haven't touched it.
Does it actually, does it grow quickly?
It doesn't grow, it doesn't die, it just it's weird. It's
Just spray it?
no, nothing, literally. I think as long as you've got some humidity, that's all it needs.
Wow.
It doesn't even attract dust because it's got anti-static properties,
Yeah.
so it repels dust. You just get dust on the frame.
Yeah.
So
Incredible.
yeah, it is. Can't go wrong.
Almost there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a nice addition to the shop actually.
Yeah. A bit new, isn't it, compared to everything else?
Got new plants in the Opsis, Lindernia, not had that before.
Yeah. Don't have much of a green either, do you? Or Rotundefolia?
No, not even they've got a Rotundifolia, so yeah,
It's like eight try in there.
8 try now, yeah.
We've also got Trident Fern, Nubius.
Don't really have much Brasiliensis to be honest either.
No.
A bit dotted in the 45, but
What fish do you reckon? It's got to be an Asian. I think it's all Asian. Oh, I've got African, Bulbitis is African, Nubius, and then you've got
Crips
Crips is Asian, the Opsis is South America. It's a right mix actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In fact, at the moment we haven't got any neons in here at the moment.
Yeah, neons, I love neons.
Such a common, but
Yeah, they look great though. Yeah.
they were that
Yeah.
we put the filter on.
Yeah, why not?
Yes.
Jeez. net, it's on the net.
Yeah, right.
From the filter.
Yeah.
Is it full or not?
No, it's
No, yeah, no, not
yeah.
no, you're right. Found that. It's a soft crying.
What that? Well, hey.
Yeah, I put a
Light screen on the back of that.
Yeah, nice, wouldn't it?
Awesome, yeah.
How much are those light grams?
60p is about 150-ish.
Okay.
But that should be in stock about next week, hopefully.
Oh,
Yeah. Blue, green, yellow, whatever. I'll leave one. Get made to any size tank as well.
Oh, wow, okay.
Custom made if you
You
want.
can change the colour, or do you buy them in the colour?
Change the colour, you just add on the films of it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, makes
So
sense.
just apply the extra films.
Yeah.
I prefer white myself, but to be honest, more than anything.
fern, that's a bit big. Bit of a beast, that one.
Yeah, but it'll change, won't it?
Yeah, kind of droop down.
It'll take about 3 months for all the plants to look like what they sort of really look like underwater.
Yeah.
Like the Willis and the Opsis get smaller, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah, it'll be quite lush, I think, when it's grown in. Yeah. Is it built running, is it? Yeah, just the
It's up there. There we go. See if it's stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks again, George. It's really nice. It's lovely.
Oh,
lovely.
Absolutely, my
Addition to
pleasure.
the shop.
Yeah, pleasure. Nice to see it and share in the next few months. Cool. Oh, I say cheerio again to everyone. Okay guys, thanks for watching. I guess you can hear me. I'm really looking forward to seeing this one develop, and no doubt we'll give you some updates in the forthcoming weeks and months. I want to say thanks to Dave.
Cheers, thanks, George. Thanks for watching, everyone.
Yeah, thanks for watching, and yeah, have a great evening or day or morning wherever you are in the world, and keep on scaping. Take care. Cheerio.